Daniel Jeremiah on his podcast, Move the Sticks with Bucky Brooks. And we're going to play a few things here. Let's react to them.
So if the Jets end up getting rid of the 10th pick, they get Deebo Samuel. The 49ers are on the clock at number 10. I've got my thought there. Maybe the Niners try to trade back. I have not made this comparison to Deebo. I know others have. I've compared Treylon Burks to A.J. Brown, but I think it still fits in that offense where you could use Treylon Burks in a variety of ways. His strength and toughness, kind of complements Ayuk, with kind of what they have going there. I think he would be a fun player in the Kyle Shanahan offense.
Okay, so there's the first part of it. So he's not saying this is going to happen, but he's saying, I do think there's a player that makes sense, specifically a player that makes sense for the 49ers, and it's Treylon Burks. Now, would you draft him at 10?
Well, I watched him like most people have, just the highlights. He was a star player in the SEC. He is a dynamic playmaker, and a little similar to Deebo. He's not coming from Bama, Georgia, LSU, right? Like South Carolina, Arkansas, I would say are in the similar tier. Would you agree with that? Like the lower tier of the top dogs. And he stood out, and he's put himself in position to be a first-round pick. People I've talked to think he's a fringe because
fringe what?
First-round pick. Because he's not like a route. He's just a playmaker. Like a little like Deebo, kick returner, punt returner, has done in his career. They handed the ball, and it wasn't totally his fault. The quarterback at Arkansas, I actually watched 3 or 4 Arkansas games last year. Now, granted, it was like against Georgia, against Alabama. Their quarterback sucked. So they just threw bombs to him, and he could do that. And he had 11 touchdowns. He had 12 touchdowns if you factor in he had 1 running, but he was
8 yards to carry.
One thing that he is different, Deebo, he's 6'2", 220. Like, he's just a longer athlete than Deebo, but I think he fits the same mold of, like, you could just move around. Now, the other thing, I don't think Deebo, I don't remember exactly what his 40 time is, but I don't think he was viewed as, like, a 4.4 flat guy coming out of college. I'd say it's safe to say he plays extremely fast. I think that's the same thing with Treylon Burks. He ran a 4.55, so people go, well, he's not like a Olave or a Ruggs. Well, yeah. You watch this guy play, it was rare that he got caught.
He was running away in the Alabama game. He ran away. I think for a score.
Playmaker. So if you're talking the Jets deal, which to me is the most intriguing by far, 10 and 35 or 38, I don't think you could take it 10, but could you take 35 or 38, whatever other pick you got with your 61 and come to like pick 22? Because I think a lot of teams are going to want like multiple picks in the second. Then all of a sudden I get pick some sweet top 10 player, right? A defensive lineman, a cornerback, Kyle Hamilton, the sweet safety from Notre Dame. What if I told you the 49ers got rid of Deebo for Kyle Hamilton and Treylon Burks?
Yeah. Now, Kyle Hamilton could go 3 to the Texans. I mean, I don't know.
But he's not, because he ran at his pro day. Kyle Hamilton ran like a 4.65. I've heard he's plummeting in the
draft.
But
Daniel Jeremiah, he said it on the show, thinks he's a Patriots guy. Like, thinks that Caserio and Romeo would like him.
Oh, you're saying, but that pick 13, they're not going to take a pick 3.
Yeah. No, so you don't. The part of it is you don't think the problem with a bad draft is hard to go back. So you couldn't get 10. Although Daniel said maybe they do that. Get 10, move back with 10. Maybe you could, right? Go from 10 to 16, get another pick, and then take your guy there.
Yeah, I mean, ideally that's what you do. But if you couldn't do that, I have no problem taking someone else at 10. Whoever, Kyle Hamilton, whatever, a non-wide receiver, whoever you think is just sweet. One of these pass rusher. Hell, Jordan Davis. If you just say the 49ers got Jordan Davis and Treylon Burks.
How about one of the Washington corners? Might be a little high for that too, but
I've heard. I talked to a buddy.
McDuffie's a good player.
People love McDuffie.
Well,
McDuffie ain't making a pass like 20, so he's going in the team.
The thing about McDuffie's 5'11", which whatever.
Super high character guy though, right?
Extremely. I've talked to him on several occasions.
I've actually heard all 3 corners. Sauce, which is an incredible name. Even Stingley, people like all 3 corners, because sometimes like, these can be questionable. They're just they're kind of NBA-ish.
Yeah.
People love the character on the 3 guys.
Yeah. Kyler, I don't know. Trent McDuffie, I can speak to, having talked to him several times and knowing around UW.
So you get McDuffie and you get Treylon Burks.
Sure. All right, a little more on this. Here's what Bucky Brooks said about it.
I can look at the way Brandon Ayuk was utilized at Arizona State.
Yep.
He's terrific with the ball in his hands. He has some toughness or whatever. Who is to say that Brandon Ayuk can't get the promotion to the Deebo Samuel role and you bring another guy in to do something different? So if they make that trade and do it, I do believe that they can have a plan to elevate someone that is currently on their roster to utilize them in a way that they utilize Deebo Samuel down the stretch.
He's going to get better. He is going to be a better player than he's been. And he's clearly really, I mean, as he came on last year, like he's a legitimate, to me, like number 2 in the league. To say that he could replace Deebo Samuel in the backfield seems a little extreme. If I was in a draft room and we were having this, I would be like, I don't think that's plausible.
Well, he's not built like him, first of all, right?
Thinner.
Okay, now the last part. This is the part that DJ really thinks sells Treylon Burks to the 49ers.
Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Treylon Burks. Those are top 6, whatever order people have them, right? So if we always talk about the Niners and we say they are run after the catch obsessed, receiving yards after the catch per reception. You know who the number 1 guy is in yards after catch among all those guys?
Burks!
Treylon Burks.
There you go.
Well, what would you say Kyle's huge on? Yak and actually blocking. He likes this guys to block.
Yeah. And versatility.
Yeah. This guy fits. But here's the overall point, though, why he was squirming yesterday, why Kyle probably hasn't been a bundle of joy the last week and a half in the office. You have that. You literally have it with a guy who is happy. I mean, not talking right now, but in general. Like
he's a plus in the locker room.
He smiles. He's a positive multiplier. And he literally can do it against fucking Aaron Donald and the Packers and the Eagles and the Bucks. Like, he does it every week.
No question about it. No question in your mind.
No projection. He stays
Trey,
healthy. He dominates.
You're going to get Deebo the ball right here 6 times a game, and it's going to turn a 0-yard pass into a 7-yard play.
This is where historically I just think you've had like, because if I was like on Parag's team, like from a money value standpoint, like guys, we should do it. The value, if we can somehow get their 2nd round next year, if we can get more than they were going to give for Tyreek Hill, because I saw someone in the chat said their deal to Tyreek Hill, and it's true, 35, 38, and 69, which I saw a rap sheet said both the 2 deals for Devontae and for Tyreek of what all the deals that ended up getting consummated, did I say that right?
You said it right.
Yeah, consummated, equaled around like 11 to 13 range, which is fine. But if you're the Niners, like, I just keep saying no, nope, nope, nope. And eventually, hopefully, like, hey, you're the Jets, you're so desperate. I need 10, 38 and next year, even if I give into next year's 2. But I got to feel like I'm getting a shitload. But again, Kyle goes back, like, the value's great and the cheap contracts are cool. And I got 7-year contract extension. I'm not going anywhere. But ultimately, I'm losing Deebo Samuel, which is our season was dead. We were talking about Trey Lance starting because it was over. Then all of a sudden, number 19 carried us not to the playoffs, to the NFC Championship game, where we had a lead 17-7, or was it 14-7 in the second half? We were leading in the NFC Championship game, where I'm pretty sure he had scored in that game. So it's like, what are we talking about? I get from a coaching standpoint, like, that's where eventually I draw the line of like the value. That's where Bill is just the ideal. Like, he's just kind of morphed into one human. So it's like, it's always in his brain. We're at the end of the day. And I give Kyle a lot of credit. He is the coach of the team, right? More balancing the salary cap and worried about 5 years. Like, he's trying to win 11 games next year, right?
Yeah, you've been adamant about that point. Have you noticed in the NBA who's a terrible GM?
LeBron?
The players. The players are bad GMs. Why? Because they want right now, this second, I need everybody that I need right now. Right? That's not how GMs are. Generally, they don't think that way. It's about 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And these teams that are built this way are terrible. are a mess.
Well, because Kevin Durant and LeBron never would have waited on Jordan Poole, right? He was
Of
a G
course
League.
not. And I don't.
Didn't you call his G League game? I mean,
no player. He wasn't in that game. No player would. John, you wouldn't. Nobody would. You're a player. That's
the
how you
game's
think.
next week.
I'm
help.
playing in the game. Like, I don't want to go lose. What am I doing all this work for? GM's like, if we stretch out this build another 3 years, I can get another contract. GM's not in a rush.
But I think one thing you hear with John Lynch, and he's the Amazon offer didn't come up, but he did allude to, like, we've been really close twice in basically 3 years.
Yep.
Like they're thinking, to me, as they should be. They know they got a chance with their core guys to try to win in the next couple of years. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily thinking like 7 years, but they're probably thinking more than just 2022 because of Trey, but they're thinking 22 to like 25. Like, their gap right now is right now. Now, you could argue that we've seen a lot of players come into the draft recently at skill positions and hit the ground running. But you also then, like, okay, are we going to try to outthink and take McDuffie or Stingley at 10 and then try to work up? Well, what if, like, all of a sudden the Eagles take the guy at 15 and we don't get the guy that we wanted? Then now we don't love the guy that we got. Now do we just take a center? So now we got Lindenbaum and McDuffie, but we don't have a receiver.
You could say to Deebo,
it's out of your control when you draft, right?
The idea of moving back and moving back up for the guy you want's great, but the guy's got to be there. You could say to Deebo, we can't. We're trying to win a championship this year. We can't trade you right now. But you come back and play for us. You give us what you got.
The Aaron Rodgers?
And we'll trade you after next year.
You do the Aaron Rodgers?
If you're Deebo, you don't.
Yeah. Difference is
Aaron give me the ball 12 times a game, and I'm like, yeah, Aaron is rich.
And he was making $36 million. So he's like, listen, we'll figure it out, but I'm still getting $2 million a game. So Deebo's like, oh yeah, because I make the Pro Bowl, I got a bump in my my salary. It's still 2.7.
Thanks for the $50K.
Yeah. Appreciate that one, Parag.
Yeah. So
it is. They're in a much, like, Seattle doesn't have to deal with this. Titans aren't dealing with this. Like, they have contract situations they have to deal with their player, right? But their guy didn't ask for a trade.
Yeah.
And it clearly is, like, listen to Darlington. This is not fake. Like, this is, and honestly, not that anyone believes it is. John Lynch's body language said it all. Like, this is really real. Like, time's ticking here. Like, you guys want to talk about fourth rounders? No, I don't blame him. Like, it was a very, very tough situation.
Yeah.
It was the most uncomfortable of all the not that I watched everyone by any means, but I bet if we looked at, like, just pick 5 random teams, it's a pretty loosey-goosey. Oh yeah, what's up, guys?